Hello.
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 Hello. Oh, no, wait a minute. You can hear me, right?
Hello.
What is going on here? That doesn't make any
James?
sense.
James?
What's going on? I don't know what is going on here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've heard you the whole time, just on the wind up.
Oh, no, please don't do that. I hate, because I'm paranoid about that kind of stuff, because it's just horrible when that goes wrong.
What's the paranoia?
Because there's always something, isn't there, that goes wrong, and it's always something that's at my ends, and it's just annoying.
The panic in your voice was quite unbelievable, actually.
I know, because I hate it when this happens. It's really annoying. It just goes back to that time we recorded that whole episode of the computer game show, and it went wrong.
What do you mean, that time?
Yeah, that only happened once. Come on, we only lost one episode.
James, that's not true, is it? Well, we only lost one episode because we put, what do you call it? We put, like, things in place to make sure that we never lost an episode again. You continued to fuck up about 8 times.
Well, yeah. But obviously there was mess-ups, but it was still, like... But not as
there were mess-ups.
Yeah.
Rogue One, James.
Yeah.
I've seen Rogue One now.
Yeah, so have I. I watched it again about 2 days ago.
Yeah, I watched it about 2 days ago as well. Well, Sunday night. Yeah, so three days ago, I think. Who cares? I've watched it. Okay. And I took down, James, get this, a series of notes that I will read through. Yeah, I wrote these while I was watching the film.
Okay.
And,
you've not done that before?
No, it's a brand new concept. Right, okay. Do you want me to just go straight into it?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I'm kind of curious to know what you think of this film, but maybe I would just leave it to the end. Leave it to the end.
Me too, because I want to know what you think about it as well.
Yeah, I know.
I think I know. I think I know what your feeling is. But
what am I feeling?
I think that I think you thought this was all right, but nothing special or anything really. That's how I think. That's what I think you think about it.
Okay.
And I don't think that you were blown away by anything particularly, really. So I don't know. But go
on. All right. Rogue One. The ending was good. Wasn't particularly blown away by anything. That's my notes. That's well done, James. You got that bang on. 100%. Right, now here we go. Shit, was expecting the music for this one. No music. No. Okay, fine. There's a feeling I've got about this film that I've saved to the end. Opening shots look great. Little girl running from the ship. He's come for us. I'm assuming they're talking about Darth. And then I put in brackets. I went back and put, they're not. But it's still. Trust the Force, crystal necklace. Right, can we talk about this crystal necklace? I know it's early doors. Right. What was that about?
Okay, so that crystal necklace is a kyber crystal, is what that is.
And it fuels the lightsabers.
Yeah, well, they build them out of, like, they use kyber crystals to build them. And it's weird because it's one of those things where... Did you ever play Knights of the Old Republic? No. I don't remember.
Nah.
Because it was in that as well. Like, you got to construct your own lightsaber as well, and you did that by using, like, kyber crystals and stuff.
Was that fetch quests?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go get me the kyber crystal. Why did she have it, and why did they not refer to it other than just her looking at it every now and then? I thought something's going to happen. She's going to have to do something with that crystal. It's going to save them somehow. And then
it didn't, yeah.
Nothing happens.
I think the original intention, I mean, this is just from what I've read online, from what people have said, is that, her mum was supposed to have been like a Jedi originally, and that was what that was about. That it was like, it had gone from her or something.
No, I'm not on board with that. I'll tell you why I'm not on board with that. First off, how did she end up with someone working for the Empire?
Yeah, well, he was a scientist, wasn't he? But I mean, also, it's because... Like, the Death Star... Isn't the Death Star powered by these things as well?
I have no idea. You should be...
I think...
I cannot believe you're asking me that question. David, I've got a very nuanced question about the Star Wars universe for you here.
No, but I'm pretty certain that was what that was about as well. That's also powered by kyber crystals.
But
and so
regardless of all of that, why the fuck was not explained throughout this whole film?
Well, there's quite a few things that weren't explained, but that was one of them.
It was just kind of like she looked at it every now and then. I guess it was a device to show that she still cared about him, like deep down. Maybe that's what they were going for, but that didn't come across. That's me stretching.
I mean, one of the main problems that I had with this film overall, though, was the fact that they didn't really build that relationship enough to make you care. Like about what was going on with them. I didn't think.
Yeah, no, I do kind of agree with you, actually. It didn't bother me, but I do see what you're saying. Okay, right. That's the necklace dealt with.
Yeah.
Wait, is this dude an ex-Jedi now living on a farm? Wait, no, he was part of the Empire. Okay, James, I have seen the full film. You don't have to...
Well, I don't know, because sometimes you say stuff and then you're like, but how is it like that?
Do you know what, James? Fucking fair play, because that is the sort of thing that would happen. I'll get to the end of it and go, I thought he was a Jedi. Wait, no.
Jedi made the Death Star.
It was a Jedi that made it. Wait, no, he's part of the Empire. Okay, an interesting start. I mean, I think this dude in the white cape is part of the Empire. I'm not sure what these stormtrooper-like people are. Surprised they're not just stormtroopers, considering that's the whole point in this film, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is something... There's been... I've heard things about inconsistency in Star Wars before. Like, for example, how comes the weapons in the prequel seem more advanced than they do in the 1970s films? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they seem to have bigger and badder weapons, and then suddenly...
But you can explain that, like...
Yeah, here we go. Let's see the hand waving. Go on, James.
Okay, so basically, if you look at the prequel trilogy, everything's a lot shinier in that, right?
Yeah.
Everything's all sort of shiny and good and all that kind of thing. Whereas by the time you get to like the original trilogy, the Empire's been around for quite a long time, and the whole galaxy's kind of suffering from it. And that's why everything's kind of like broken down in a mess and everything.
But the Empire building half the shit that you see in those films.
Yeah. But no, the Empire...
And they're more and more powerful.
Well, no, the Imperial stuff's all right. It's all the Rebel stuff looks a mess, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand that, but weren't there some of the... Oh, I can't remember. Who cares? Sorry. But yeah, no, I those... So he had like a troop of people with him, right?
Yeah.
They weren't stormtroopers. So who the fuck were they?
Well, how were they dressed? I don't remember.
They were dressed in stormtrooper-style outfits, but they were all in black.
Okay,
and they were slightly different.
Because they weren't like Death Troopers or anything like that.
No, I don't know what a Death Trooper is. I knew a Stormtrooper.
No, so you see, the thing is also, the other thing about this film is this is set between the prequels and the original trilogy. So you've also got the fact that the Empire is still trying stuff out.
That is the best. That's brilliant. That is the best. That's the best one that I've heard ever. The best hand wave of it. The Empire. The Empire. Remember, it's between the two trilogies, so the Empire is just trying stuff out.
I've got another one. Okay, if we go back to the crystal as well with this. There's a lot of stuff in this film which feels like they've stuffed bits in there that they're then going to expand on later in other films or other media. That it does feel like that kind of film as well.
Okay, all right. They're just trying stuff out. Ha 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 ha. Holy fuck. That intro music when the title came up is like a parody and sounded awful. Why the fuck didn't they just use the music? Right, this is interesting, right? Because the music throughout the film I thought was decent. Like I didn't love it. I wasn't blown away by it, but there were certainly moments where I thought, "Fuck, this is really good." And it was a bit different in places. They used a musical style over certain parts of this film that they wouldn't have used in one of the main Star Wars films, and it works, right? This opening, like when the Rogue One comes up, Star Wars story, it was like Dan. Da-da-dan, da-da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. You know, it was like watching one of those adverts where they want to have the Star Wars theme in it, but obviously can't afford it, so they do it just a little bit different to get around having to pay for it. And I just thought, but this is... I mean, Disney, you own that original music. Either do one or two things. Either go completely different from the main title music, right? Or use the main title music. Like, I wouldn't have had a problem if they'd used the Star Wars theme. It would have been surprising then because they left it until later into the film. And that would have been cool, quite cool, actually. But if they used some sort of, like, more military-based music, that would have suited this whole film a lot more, right?
Yeah.
Did you
I mean, there was also... I mean, there was a lot of stuff like that because there was also, like, obviously there's no opening crawl as well.
Which I'm fine with.
There was apparently a lot of discussions about whether there would be one or not, and they decided against it because they were trying to make this something different. But then that's also the other thing that is a problem with this film is that they often don't make things different enough, and they've taken a very safe approach. With
okay, let's save those opinions to the end, boy.
Also about going back to the crystals again, I've just looked back at my notes, and the Kyber crystals are for a planet killer. So definitely that's what they were. They were for powering the Death Star.
Right, okay. So, but again, I mean, even if that bit was explained in the film, I don't think it was.
It was. They must have said something.
Right, okay.
Otherwise it wasn't written down.
But all right, smug. But the fact that nothing came of it, was weird. I totally thought she was gonna a bullet was gonna hit it at some point and ping back, or she was gonna have to put it in oh no, we're just a crystal short of saving the planet. Well, actually, I've got my neck. I suppose that would have been shit as well. So I can't complain too much.
I'm sure that there's some alternative ending that somebody knows about that I don't know about.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we will get 1,000 tweets. But Trading Post looks great, but I'm already a little turned off by this. I'm not sure why. Maybe because going in, I thought it was going to be a straight up link between the prequels and the originals, and they're already chucking a ton of new shit in. It feels very B-team to me. Okay, Again, that's how I felt at that time in the film. Also, what's with these location titles? And they kind of drop that, don't they?
Well, that's the first time they've done that in Star Wars films.
Yeah.
And then also, did you notice they got rid of the wipes as well?
Do you know what? I hadn't even noticed that, no.
Yeah, there's no wipes in this film, which is odd.
Yeah, now you point out, I think, but then I didn't... they were in Force Awakens. I did pick them up in Force Awakens, but that's fine. I haven't got a problem with that. It was strange how they were doing that, and then they suddenly dropped it. I think for the second half of the film, I don't think there was one. And it was okay, all right. I guess, I don't know, it was strange. Also, the way the way it's shot, some weird filter is used here and there. So not in every single scene. It tends to be scenes with just two characters talking to each other. They put some weird grain on, which as the further I got into the film, I realised was because they were trying to imitate the film of the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that. But they also use this real shaky hand camera work, and it was really distracting in places, especially at the beginning of the film.
Especially, they have that, there was that sort of battle in that square where it all goes on, and there's all explosions going off, and it's vibrating all over the place. It's really difficult.
I've got a lot to say about that battle in the square. And then I'm probably just being too grumpy. Bald Robot, congratulations, you are being rescued. Can already tell I'm going to like that fella.
Yeah.
Here we go. Rebel headquarters. Okay, discussion over Jyn finding her father. Starting to sink into this a little bit now. What was that? Oh, right. So that was when she was sitting with the Rebel Council. Is that the first time we've seen the Rebel Council?
Yes. Well, the first time we've seen it like that. Because they're in...
They did it in ship, don't they?
As well, but only little bits of them.
They're in A New Hope. Go on. What were they in A New Hope?
Well, when they're on Yavin 4, when the Death Star's approaching, they're there's some of them there then. Mon Mothma's not Mon Mothma, she's not there. She's in Return of the Jedi. But they got the old guy who's the one who explains how to destroy the Death Star and all that kind of thing. He's there.
Right. Okay. And do I put it? Oh no, I'll come back to that. Okay, discussion over Jyn finding her father starting to sink in a bit now. The plot was starting to bubble a little bit.
There was also a bit with that though that started to make me laugh.
Go on.
Every single time that somebody said something, there was then murmuring, and it just sounded really funny.
I didn't pick up on that, but I love stuff like that. It's just hilarious.
It was really funny because you ever seen that episode of Father Ted where there's that thing where that happens?
No.
It's there's basically they're all standing around, and then things keep on being revealed, and then there's murmuring in the background, and then somebody always goes, "Fucking hell." As soon as I saw that, I was just imagining if they'd have done that. That would be well funny.
That obviously that's in loads of things, but the thing that it reminds me the most of is Phoenix Wright. You know, where something happens in the court and you just hear that like in the background. I love that stuff. Right, okay. Orders to kill him. A bit of plot bubbling up. I like that.
Yeah.
I liked it. I like that. I love that stuff. First shot of the Death Star, it's still fucking cool, isn't it? In fact, it looks insanely good in this film. It's the best the Death Star's looked. Do you know what I mean?
There's a bit with that near the end as well that I thought was fantastic.
Where it comes up over the horizon.
Visually. Yeah, that was I saw that and it was genuinely chilling. I thought seeing that.
Proper. Yeah, the sense of scale. I mean, it's something that I've mentioned on other podcasts before, but there's a sense of scale that makes me feel sick. It's really strange. I've had it in computer games where there was like Forza Horizon where you're fighting this huge like sort of aeroplane, like an insanely big aeroplane, and it flies just over your head, and it just made me it just made me feel sick. And it's like when you stand at the bottom of a skyscraper, like the Shard or whatever, and then you look up, and you're like, what? That is too big. That's too big for my brain to handle. And then when I saw that Death Star like rise up over the horizon, I was like, fuck that. You know what I mean? It gave me that.
It was proper like apocalypse kind of thing. Like,
well, because you usually see it just floating in space, don't you? So it's not really that effective. And it's a cool design. No one's going to have a pop at that. But when you see it in comparison to that planet, it was like really fucking haunting. Right, okay. This is an interesting talking point. Tarkin is back.
Yeah.
The CGI is really good, but there's enough uncanny valley here for it to be a bit distracting, right?
Okay.
And then I put, also he sounds like the guy from Holby City, right? I looked it up. It was the guy from Holby City. Right, James, this gets worse, because I forgot to mention this at the time as well. Do you remember the Street Fighter character from episode 1?
No.
The guy that was offered the same role in episode 2, but then turned it down because they wouldn't let him see the script.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Right? I remember when you told me that, I said, yeah, because that guy in the first episode is a really big actor, isn't he? And I think you sort of just went, yeah, but didn't really know.
Yeah.
I know him from Holby City as well.
So he is a really big actor from like UK TV.
No, he's a really big actor in this flat. Like Holby City is not the biggest program in the world, right? It's not even the biggest program in England.
I've never watched it. So
my wife absolutely loves soaps, right? And I can't get into any of them. Like I feel sick when EastEnders on. I get angry when there's whatever shite she's watching on telly. But Holby City, I can quite happily sit and watch. It's 1 hour a week. She's watching it anyway. So I wouldn't say I'm a fan of it, but it's certainly the best of the awful, awful soaps that's on the TV, fucking non-stop throughout the week, right? But there's the guy who reminds me of a Solarian from Mass Effect, and he's the guy that voices Tarkin. Tarkin, is it? Yeah. He speaks like this, okay, like that all the time, right? So I found it really hard to concentrate on Tarkin for two reasons. Firstly, don't get me wrong, the CGI was incredible. It was incredible, right? It looks incredible. Yes, absolutely. Like, on a technical level, it was fucking amazing. Because there was for a moment where he turned around where I thought, shit, right. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, so it tricked me for a moment, and for CGI to do that is pretty impressive, right? But there was just those odd movement of the lips every now and then, the eyes and stuff was enough to make me, even when I'd come to terms with the fact that it was a CGI character, it still distracted me enough. Coupled with the boss of the hospital in Holby City talking, it was really very distracting for me. I found it very hard.
See, when I saw it in the cinema, I was quite impressed by it.
Yeah.
Despite feeling it was kind of like, it obviously has problems. Like the movement it's a bit odd, isn't it? The movement, like the way the character moves compared with the characters around him, which makes it like very obvious that it's not like quite right. But then also, I found that his face was like kind of like over animated as well, like from time to time.
Well, this is it, isn't it? When you're trying to do a resting face in CGI, like the options are either have it move or don't have it move. But if you have a person's face not moving completely, then it's really obvious that it's not real.
Yeah.
So instead, they do these tiny little movements constantly, and that looks just as bad. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just like it just looks like it's twitching and shit. It's bizarre. What I did want to ask you though is that the actor that played Tarkin, I'm assuming, is no longer with us, right?
Well, yes, Peter Cushing. He's been dead for a long time.
Okay. What were the ethics around this discussed?
Okay, well, here's what, because I was wondering about this as well, and it turns out that his family, like the Cushing family, approved this whole thing, and they also had very limited creative control over it as well. Like they had some approval over like aspects of what was going on as well. But yeah, the family agreed with it though.
I do kind of think, right, that there's a lot of people out there that would think this was wrong, you know, like on a moral level. But I can't imagine anyone, like, if I died and they wanted to use my face in a Star Wars film, like, I'd be like, fucking yeah, man, that is brilliant. And all my family would be like, yes, stick him in the film. You know, I can't imagine anyone that would be against it.
Your family would be like, do we get paid for this?
Yeah, it's true. But seriously, I mean, what I'm saying is that the people around that actor, I think, would be well up for it. It would be the people watching that would be questioning the moral issues around it, rather than it actually being a real moral issue. But yeah, that was interesting.
There were definitely people that were not happy about it, because I've read like lots of stuff with people saying, you know, it's wrong to do that kind of thing. Why didn't they just get like another actor? Or the other option that I've seen they've said many times was, why didn't they use like a hologram thing or something like that to talk to him, and then it would have like avoided this whole issue. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I think they were trying something with this though, and I think they kind of pulled it off, but not quite.
Yeah,
it still doesn't look quite right.
I think technically they kind of pulled it off. I think the voice was more distracting for me than visually, because I was just constantly thinking Holby City throughout every scene he was in. So yeah, I mean, but you know, I'm glad that I think it's brilliant that they tried it, and I think they pulled it off as well as anyone could have possibly have pulled it off. Like they did really well with it. I mean, I'll come to this later, but I do really want to see this film again, because now that I know that that's a thing, I can settle into it a little bit more. But at the time it was just like really fucking distracting. They enter the walled off city. Was that pig nose fella and the bloke from the bar in A New Hope? Yeah, nice cameo.
I don't know, because that was another one of those things where it was like they're trying a bit too hard with the cameos there.
Totally get it, but it was so brief that it worked. Yeah. If it was like, hey, do you want to go to their bar? You know, like if they did all that, then that would have sucked. But they bumped into him and it carried on, and that's all it needed, and it was fine. And to be fair, in this film, there's not that many moments like that, is there really?
There's a lot of stuff which is like nods towards the fans, but that one I thought was one. But you see, I didn't really have a problem with any of that, whereas a lot of people did. Like a lot of people were just like saying, "Oh, it's too much." You know,
I hate people like that.
References and all that kind of thing. But for me, I thought it was fine. I didn't find that stuff distracting at all.
No, I liked it.
CGI Tarkin I found a bit more distracting.
Absolutely,
that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Right, okay. I think I was wrong about the new droid thing. He's not hitting the buttons for me. He's acting sarcastic, but he's not hitting the mark enough.
I liked him. I thought he was quite good, like throughout.
It was, I wasn't a massive fan, to be honest with you, with that character. What was his name again? He only mentioned it once at the beginning, didn't he?
Was it like KS something? Like
See,
that?
I mean, you know, with that, that's a problem. But it was more the fact that it was his character was just a bit like.
You feel he was like too hard.
No, if anything, not trying hard enough. Does that make sense? I think because we could talk about the tone, I'm sure eventually, but whenever you've seen a droid in these films, they're filled with character, and with this one, his character was just like a sigh. You know what I mean? It was like constant
Yeah, you see, but I
sarcasm and sigh.
But I like that.
I know. I suppose it was because it's so different from the sort of main droids we've had in these films.
Yeah.
And again, this all ties into my overall feeling of the film, but it was so different that it really sort of, I couldn't click with it straight away. And then by the time that I felt that I was getting used to the character, the film was over, and it was kind of like, it didn't really do much for me, which is a shame.
I like the character. I mean, there was that one bit when they're getting on the ship, and there's that argument about whether she gets a pistol or not.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Do you want to know like the percentage chance that she's going to kill you?" And then he doesn't say anything, and he's just like, "It's high." Like that. I like that. I thought
no, this didn't work for me. Didn't work for me, James. Right, okay. Ambush in the town was pretty cool, if a little too choreographed. Like, they don't seem to be in peril at all and are just globbing grenades about and that. Right, so this is the square, right? The town square or whatever. The problem I had with this is that it had been quite a gritty sort of film up until this point. And then during this ambush, they're like chatting to each other. Hey, guys, like chucking grenades over the back of their heads and seeing stormtroopers explode behind them. And I was kind of like, I don't know, it didn't really work. It was like...
So you feel that if they're going to go for the gritty, you've got to go all in, and you can't sort of have it both ways.
I think you can still have comedy and tonally, I think this film is very, very strange. Very strange.
Well, there's stuff about that I can explain later.
Okay, well, let's save it to later. But that particular scene, I was kind of like, this is pretty cool. There's lots of explosions. The explosions look great. People dying in a really cool way. But it went from Saving Private Ryan to a Jason Statham film in like 0.2 seconds, and I was kind of like, whoa, okay, here we go. Do you know what Jason Statham film is?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure, because it's quite broad, James. So I want to make sure that you're aware of.
I'm aware of them, but I haven't seen them.
No, of course you haven't. What do you imagine they're like? In fact, actually, what you imagine they're like is probably exactly what they're like, to be fair. I'm
just imagining lots of one-liners and violence. Is that right?
Pretty much, yep, okay. Love that. The blind guy taking out the stormtroopers is class, though. When he comes into it and starts fighting, fucking brilliant. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Although we'll come back to his character later. The gags aren't landing, but the locations are making up for it. The panning shots are pretty stunning. They really are. The way the location shots are fucking incredible in this film. The best it's been so far. The meeting between Jin and Saw, was that his name?
It's, Saw Gerrera.
Right.
Yeah.
Feels like a big turning point. I now feel like I know what's going on. The intro is a bit of a mess plot-wise. It's all over the place with bits dropped in here and there. But this is the first time things feel like they have a purpose. So I think they tried to do a lot in those sort of opening shots. The opening 45 minutes of this film. They tried to do a lot. They tried to put a lot of plot in there that I was surprised that they were doing. You know, I went into this film thinking this is going to be from a week or so before A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
And I was expecting it to be fully focused on a team of people going to get those plans. But it had more plot than that. It had this character that had been roped into this situation rather than it just being about forming and going to attack the Empire and stuff like this.
Yeah, because you know that it's about the Death Star. Did you know that before going in, yeah? That it was going to be about Death Star plans. That was like the whole thing.
Yeah, I knew that.
So it's like, my idea before I saw this film was that it was going to be like a heist kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely,
do something like that. But
and it does turn into that eventually, in a way. But the whole intro to this film is not what I expected, and I think it threw me a little bit. I was like, well, why is this character fighting against the rebels, but she's not... Like, it felt like she wasn't Han Solo, but there was certainly comparisons to be made from his stance to what he was doing in the galaxy before getting roped into it, to hers. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was way too confusing and made overly complicated by the fact that it was ramming all this plot in with all these new characters as well. So you're trying to take in a new character while also trying to take in the plot at the same time, and which is a stupid thing to say because that's what you're doing in any film anyway. But one of those things needs to be a little bit more simple. Otherwise, you're all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the first time you see the rebel guy. Like, why does he shoot that dude with one hand? Like, he's hurt his hand or something.
Yeah.
Why is he straight up murder him?
Well, that's also. I mean, that character. That character's got a lot of problems anyway.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, we'll come to the death with him as well. But he's also he's in other Star Wars media as well. Like, he's in Star Wars Rebels as well. Like, which is like a spin-off sort of thing. And I really think that in this case with this film, there were a lot of things here where it was like, that get explained in other stuff. And it's like, but that's no good for somebody who's just watching the film. Because it doesn't help, like, at all. To do
it doesn't.
Way.
And, like, I could see what they were trying to do. They were trying to, I think, say, look, you've always thought the rebels are good guys, and they are, but they still do some fucked up shit as well, right?
Yeah, because what they're trying to do is that they are trying to present this idea that the rebellion is kind of actually morally grey, and that if you do it, it compromises you, like, as an individual.
Yes.
And that's completely true. I mean, any revolution, any rebellion is like that. Like, you lose your soul, like, if you do it, because it's awful. Like, usually you end up having to do horrible things. But it was a bit on the nose with that, I think.
Yeah, well, that was like he just straight up murdered him. Like, he was just like... Actually, there's no grey area in this bit. Yeah. This is just straight up, fuck you, you're dead now, for no reason.
That happened earlier in the film as well, didn't it? With the other dude. You know, like when they were down on that planet, there was... I've forgotten his name. It's so completely unmemorable. I've completely forgotten his name. One of the lead guys, Cassian. That's it.
Who's Cassian?
He's the one who's with Jin, like, for most of the film. Who, like,
the guy with the accent?
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about, James. Who are you talking about? No. Saw Gerrera, okay. He worked for we didn't know this at this point.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that, the Cassian or whatever his name is.
Yeah, the straight up murderer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He just shoots the person in the back. You know, Saw Gerrera did some weird shit with the mind games, but I could justify that because it was an Imperial pilot, right?
Yeah.
So, and he needed some information from that pilot. So you can kind of see the grey area. It's still torture, it's still horrible, but you can kind of see the grey area there. That made a statement that if we want the rebellion to win, we've got to do stuff we don't want to do, or stuff that's morally wrong.
And also the other thing with him was, like, it was just like that overriding, like, paranoia that he seemed to have, like, about everything, by that point, which was, that worked, I thought.
But Cassian just straight up shot that dude in the back. Like,
no need for that at all. Yeah.
There was, you could probably handwave it and say they were about to be captured by stormtroopers and he knows a lot of stuff and he's clearly told him that he can't escape because his arm's fucked up. Get rid of him. But it was the way he did it as well. Like, he was just like, oh, yeah, no, don't worry about it. Bang. It's like, okay. Fine. If George ever buys this back, that scene is getting edited. Right, okay.
I've got the opinion of George Lucas about this film. We'll get to that at the end.
Right, okay, cool. But Jin and Saw, I thought when they had that discussion, that was when the movie started to come together. So I had a problem with the first 45 minutes. I wasn't disliking it. I just I was a bit confused by it, like what it was trying to do. And then when they were chatting to each other, even though I thought it was one of the weaker scenes in the film in terms of acting, I didn't think Saw was that great, to be quite honest with you. But
it was very, like, over the top.
Yeah,
a lot
but the discussion they had pulled everything together. It was like doing up your shoelaces, pulling the strings and watching the rest of them all. Yeah, whatever. That's my brain going into weird places. I'm not sure if I'm on board with the reveal about Jin's father. So he purposely built a flaw into the Death Star so it can be taken out. It felt like he was the only one that could help them build it. So why help them build it? It's a neat idea, but not sure it works. Now, again, I'm writing these notes as I'm watching it, and later in the film it does try and justify that, right? Like, it says... he sort of says, well, they would have built it without me anyway.
Yeah, and then because there's that scene, isn't there, where they all get, like, those ones get murdered, like those engineers, where it's, you know, it's like, we'll kill anybody just to make the project happen anyway, so I might as well just take advantage of this.
Which I understand, but if that's the case, that opening scene seems a lot weaker. Like, so they've known that he's out and he's not. Like, why did they want him so badly at the start then?
He just must have been really good at making, you know, weapons of mass destruction.
Right, okay, fine. So you want him to make your weapon of mass destruction. You don't turn up on his planet, murder his wife, and then force him to do it, because there's a chance that he would do something like this, surely.
Well, yeah, but the Empire doesn't care about that, does it? It's always
I guess not. I guess it shows their arrogance or whatever, but
yeah.
I wasn't totally on board with it, but it's fine.
The whole thing with the Empire, isn't it? It's like it's ruling through fear. It's like they don't, you know, they're not thinking about that. They're just thinking, you know, we can have overwhelming power. We can do whatever we want to you, and so you just do as we want.
I do, however, I mean, since writing this note, I have sort of cooled down on that opinion. I do, however, think it's an excellent idea to try and explain the weak point. Mm-hmm. You know, because that's always been a bit of a sort of joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, well, why would they have the exhaust that goes through a reactor, it blows everything up? It was brilliant that they come up with a concept to sort of explain that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I thought that was probably one of the best tie-ins from the previous films. The planet blowing up looks fucking incredible. So initially I thought, well, we've seen the Death Star blow up a planet and it happens instantly. However, they did say, it's only 10% or whatever they said when they blew up that planet for the first time.
Yeah, it's like just use one pylon or something. Or whatever.
So
it was like,
yeah, but you know, even if they went full power and they still tried to ignore the fact that, you know, it took seconds in A New Hope, but here it's like it's a slow process.
Yeah,
it's totally worth it for the visual effect. I mean, it looks
like
incredible.
Off, it? It's incredible. Yeah.
God, it looked incredible. It was really, really well done. That. And you know, horrific, don't get me wrong, but when you watch stuff like that, it's visually just absolutely mind-blowing. Tarkin taking control of the Death Star, Rebel team talking about Jin, about the weak point starting to settle in again now. I thought Tarkin taking hold of the Death Star was great. Like when he just turns around and goes, you fucked up.
Yeah.
It's mine now. You know, you could see that. I just thought it was a really well done scene, that, even though it was the dude from Hobie City saying it. All the stuff
but
with
also, with Krennic, like where he sort of reacts to that and he's all angry. I was just thinking, if Darth was here, he wouldn't be having any of that. He'd have choked him.
Yeah, like, but Darth weren't there, was he? He was there. Yeah. He's not a Force guy, is he?
No, he's not, no.
Metachlorians. One thing that I've noticed recently, I've listened back to a few of our calls, and I seem to describe the Force as, like, the Force, people don't have the Force. They have metachlorians or whatever they are. What are they called?
Yeah, metachlorians.
Right. They have them. That's the difference. The Force is everywhere. The Force, you don't have the Force. You can use the Force. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Look at me, man. Listen to this shit. Could you imagine me saying that to you 3 months ago?
Probably not.
And
at
here
least
we are.
Not with a straight face.
No. No, without putting on that voice while I was saying it.
I said, no, the metachlorians.
What was that?
That was my impression of you doing an impression of me.
Do it again?
No, I'm not doing it again.
Oh, man. It was the best. All the stuff with the scientists getting found out and shot was decent.
Hang on. We've missed a big bit here that I thought was one of the main problems I had with the film. There was two things with this film that I didn't like, and one of them was that with that explosion was with because we're past the bit, aren't we? Where Saw Gerrera dies, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that was the most pointless death ever and made no sense.
How do you mean?
Why did he just stand there? He could have just left. He didn't have to stay there at all. There was no reason for him
How
to
did he die
whatsoever.
Again?
He just stood there and just let it hit him.
What, the bomb?
Yeah, they were
Sorry, James.
escaping.
Sorry, what was he supposed to be doing?
Escaping with the rest of them.
Right. Okay. Firstly, he was fucked. Like, he kept having to stop to take oxygen. So, you know, slowing them down. I mean, your argument about him can be levelled at Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. I thought I was going to get more resistance to that.
It could be, but in that case, Obi-Wan Kenobi was helping them to escape. Saw Gerrera's not doing that. He's standing there.
So Obi-Wan Kenobi waits for the door just to be able to close on the ship, and then uses his supersonic speed skill that we know that he's got to get into the ship. Remember, that's what he could have done. No, when I saw that, I felt that was the right thing to do. I
Really?
wasn't against that because he'd completed his mission at that point. He'd shown the message, and that was it. He was done. He was always like he'd mentioned that he was breaking down. There was nothing left of him really. That he was struggling.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I mean, he was struggling a bit, but he was like
struggling a bit. He had a fucking oxygen mask on, James.
So, but that doesn't mean you just give up. Like as soon as you got an oxygen mask on.
I thought he thought there was nothing else he could possibly do. That was it.
Could always be wrong about that. He could have gone off with them and then not even fix things, but he could have helped them out more.
It takes a lot of fuel to get anything into space, and he was quite a big fella. Most of him was metal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fuel, is what I'm saying, James. All right.
Made no sense.
Obi-Wan Kenobi could have done the same. Okay. Right. All the stuff with the scientists getting found out, or the scientist getting found out, and then shooting all of the other ones. That was great. Big battle just after. Really good.
But there's another bit there that also makes no sense.
Go on.
So by this stage, the Death Star is complete. Like we know it's been built. It's done.
Yep.
Why are they still trying to kill the head scientist? There's no point. It's already been constructed. What is he? How is that possibly going to help the rebels doing that?
Why did they? Oh, why are the rebels trying to kill him? Well,
yeah. Why? What's the point? I mean,
hold on. Right. So, okay. This could. But I'm waving away your criticisms now. Like, and this role reversal. As far as they're aware, he's their head scientist building horrific machines of war, right?
Yeah.
Horrific weapons of war. Do you really think that they've thought, oh, he's built it now, forget it? Well, what if he wants to build another one? What if he wants to build an even worse one? Don't worry about it. Just leave him. Leave him now.
No, but that's where you'd be thinking capture is probably what you're going to be going for.
Why?
Not just killing him. Because then you can find out what's wrong with it, if there's anything you can do to stop it or whatever.
I mean, maybe, but then the chances of knowing that... are you suggesting torture here, James? Well, they have got the mind reading thing, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that blew up by the Death Star. Maybe there's only one of them. Maybe there was only one left.
They could have done something.
I don't know. He's an enemy. He is like one of the highest enemies. Taking that scalp would really cripple the Empire.
Only it wouldn't, because they've already built the Death Star. They've already got all the plans for it.
Yeah, but they were going to build a bigger one, James. Maybe he was working on that. And then eventually... the New Order find one and they buy another, do another bigger one. Mate, well, could you imagine that, looking at the Death Star plans and going, what if for every metre of metal here, we make it 2 meters? Oh, good idea. Let's do that.
Why didn't we think of that in the first place?
Yeah. I've got the original plans of the Death Star here. Just put a magnifying glass over it and build that version. Right, okay. Jin's father's death scene. It now feels like we've got a team together. Things are clicking, and I'm finally starting to feel this film. Why was Darth in a liquid tube?
Okay, so this is also interesting. So I've got written down here Vader having a nice bath, but then also. Apparently, okay. So this is a.
They got to clean his suit at some point, right? So maybe that's what they do. It's like when you're cleaning a fish bowl and you've got to put the fish in a little a pint glass of water while you clean the fish bowl, and then you just flop it back in there again.
No.
Darth Vader's a goldfish. Sorry.
So anyway,
that tickled me. God.
So he's in a Bacta tank, right? Which is the. It's a Bacta tank.
A what?
They're called
a Bacta tank.
Yeah, come on, that was in Empire Strikes Back. That's what Luke was in after he was mauled by the Wampa.
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
He
the same
was,
thing.
wasn't he? Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, go on.
So the purpose of this, because that, like, the Bacta tank is like something that's supposed to heal you, like it's it's like water healing water or whatever. And in the
Science.
Yeah, in the extended, come on, this is Star Wars. In the extended universe, like stuff,
Force fields did it. Go on.
Like Vader spent a lot of time in Bacta tanks, hoping that it would repair all the damage that was done to him with that fight on Mustafar, like against.
So he could get these boyish good looks back.
Yeah, basically, so he wouldn't have to wear the mask and all that kind of thing anymore. That was the plan.
All right.
And so there's kind of like a nod to that in this, the fact that he's having a nice bath.
Didn't have a problem with it. I just thought it was a funny thing to see, just like him just floating around like a goldfish. Right. Shit. He's all suited up. Still cool. I put still cool here, but was the suit slightly different to the one in the first 3 films?
No, it was apparently, because I looked this up as well because I was curious, and it was they tried to make it like identical to the one that was in A New Hope.
It does look a bit shit, really.
Yeah, well, but it looked a bit shit in A New Hope.
Yeah, I think you just allowed for it, didn't you, back then?
Yeah.
It was strange. It was strange. There was something off about his suit that I couldn't quite put my finger on.
I think it's because you probably remember it from like Return of the Jedi or whatever, and
possibly
that was like your last memory of it.
Yeah.
You're seeing it again like this, and it looks a bit odd.
Okay. This is the first time I've seen him since the prequels, and it really drives home how weird Anakin was as a character in those films compared to this.
Yeah.
Like, when you think of the way Anakin acted, spoke, his expressions,
yep,
and then you compare it to hello, it's just like,
yeah. I mean, Anakin
there's no link there at all, is there?
I know, because Anakin constantly was like brimming over with like anger and shouting, and it's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's holding me back, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you've got Darth Vader, who's like very calm and measured,
considered. He's measured in his anger. Yeah.
It's not the same.
Bit of a shit pun there, though, Darth. Don't choke on your aspirations. That made me go like I was sitting there going, just throwing up into my lap.
Also, why has he got his base like on the planet where it's all volcanoes and stuff? You'd have thought that he'd want to forget all that.
No, it was. Well, you don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I was going to go for a joke then, but it didn't really work. I couldn't connect the dots in my head. Maybe I need help from that joke book. Yeah, I mean, don't choke on your aspirate. Just a really shit line that. It just made me feel weird.
Also, the first time that the word choking is used by Darth Vader in the whole of all the Star Wars films.
Oh, well, that's a great fact. Make sure you roll some more of those out.
I thought you'd like that.
Why? Who cares? Why is that a fact? And why are you telling me that?
He always uses false choke, doesn't he? But it's never actually called that. It's just that's what everyone calls it, and then it comes in this film and he says it.
Yeah, but he says it's a shit pun.
That's what I'm saying.
Like in the like, could you imagine if the other films he went, "I'm going to choke you now." Are you liking this choke? But
I tell you what, it was a very George Lucas line, wasn't it?
It was. It was. Yeah, totally. Oh, it's on the move.
Oh, it's on the move.
Oh, it's a bigger fish. Is that Akbar? Is that Akbar? It's not Akbar. See, I think because he is the character that's round the table during the council meeting. That's the same character that's in the ship later during the battle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Not Akbar, though.
No, but of the same race.
Yeah.
God, my God, did they improve the look of that species, didn't they? I mean, we'll come to it, but they did a lot to make this look like the older films in this. And that was not one of them. They did not put massive googly eyes on the big fish-like thing. It actually looked pretty fucking decent in this. Disappointed it's not Akbar. Like, you don't see him. It was the perfect chance to get him in somewhere. I can't believe they didn't, actually.
That'd have been a bit much, though, wouldn't it? They've got
Private
a bit of diversity.
Private Akbar. You could have seen some of the big rebel, characters.
They did. They had Mon Mothma there. That's pretty big.
Who's Mod Mothma?
Yeah.
No, who is he?
No, she.
Who is she?
Yeah. She's like
Yeah.
An Alliance leader at the end of Return of the Jedi.
I don't remember her. All right, okay.
She was in Revenge of the Sith as well, but only like really briefly.
But again, don't remember. Sorry, I've only seen those films once, so some of the side characters I'm not picking up on. Right, okay. Council won't support the mission. Rebels within the rebellion is great. I thought that was really good. The rebels within the rebellion, loved it. I'm now officially pumped, despite the fact that they just said Rogue One in the film.
Yeah.
Didn't like that. I never like that in films, especially the way this was done. Who are you? Rogue. Oh, he's going to say one next, isn't he? Rogue One. Oh, fuck off. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Well, it would have been like Obi-Wan Kenobi saying to, something like, I think I found a new hope.
Yeah. I've heard the Empire are going to strike back. Yeah. Oh no, it's the return of the Jedi. Bloody hell. The Force Awakens today. This is fucking awake. I suppose in Solo they say it quite a bit though, don't they? So fair play. Why does Jin say may the Force be with us? I thought that was a Jedi thing. This is something I'd want you to explain, because let me just explain my understanding. Fuck you. The Jedis are a religion, essentially. Let's call them a religion. I know they're not a religion, but that just gives it what the Jedis are a name. Okay, so let's just stick with that through this. The Jedis are a religion. The Jedis understand what the Force is and how to use their Force to the advantage. That alone is not what makes them a Jedi. They have to go through a process becoming Jedis, and we've spoken about it in the past. Yeah. They always say to each other, may the Force be with you. To each other when they say goodbye, and when they say it to civilians as well, they say the same thing, may the Force be with you. Mm-hmm. The Rebellion have no real link to the Jedis, do they?
Well, no, but they do have a link to the Old Republic, which is the fact that most of the people that are in the Rebellion are from the Old Republic.
Right, the Old Republic. Right, okay, yeah. But as far as the Old Republic, as far as the rebellions are concerned, there are no Jedis left.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So that's where we're at. Mm-hmm. How does Jin know and use the phrase "May the Force be with you"?
Because I think it would be one of those things which still exists. You know, I mean, people know of the Force, that it still exists, but it's just that there are no Jedi around anymore.
But they're not Jedis. It
doesn't matter. You can still
I guess you're right.
You can still say right. Bless you. Whatever.
That's a fucking good point, actually. That is a good point. It just seemed a bit odd
Han Solo
because
says it. I mean, Han Solo says it in A New Hope.
He says it in A New Hope.
He does, yeah.
When Luke, all right.
No, when Luke is about, when they have that sort of bust up, and Luke's going off to fight against the Death Star, and they're sort of having a bit of an argument with each other, and then Han just says to him, "May the Force be with you."
Yeah, but he has been hanging around with Jedis for the past.
Well, yeah, he's been hanging around with Obi-Wan Kenobi, hasn't he?
And Luke Skywalker wasn't a Jedi at that point, but Obi-Wan Kenobi was saying that to him a lot and convincing him that he should turn to a Jedi. So
yeah.
I kind of get that. I don't know why she would be saying it, because she wasn't involved in the Republic, in the Rebellion.
Yeah.
Her dad was part of the Empire. Mm-hmm. Why is she saying, may the Force be with you? I guess you could say that she's heard it around the Rebellions, because, obviously...
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, because, they're connected, like I said, with the Old Republic and the old ways and how it used to be. It's like... It's like a nod, isn't it, to all the old stuff.
Well, look, I was looking for an answer. You've given me one, and it's an acceptable one, so we will move on. Catchphrase... Thank God you didn't say shoot. Catchphrase klaxon. Droid said it and got told to shut up. Okay, I shrugged. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I just thought, okay, all right, fine. I like how they're making the tech look purposefully bad in this to keep it in line with the original trilogy. Lots of nice touches here and there, but most noticeably with the binoculars, Rebel actors look straight up out of the 70s too. I thought that was very, very well done, actually. Yeah. The lengths they went to try and keep this looking similar to the A New Hope in terms of technology was really, really clever.
But also, like, all the rebels that you see, like, they all got that. They're all sporting that sort of like 70s haircuts.
Yeah, exactly. The moustaches and all that sort of stuff. The only thing is like some of them had like these massive fucking machine guns and shit, and I was kind of like, well, that don't really work. But whatever. I wasn't angry at that. I like the fact that, you know, every time they saw a screen in this, it looked like really shit tech, and you know, the buttons looked painted on like wooden panels and stuff like that. They really did a good job of doing that, and I appreciate it. I thought it looked cool. Oh man, that AT-AT turning up through the trees was great. The action has been great in this film, to be fair. In fact, you can't complain about any of the action, really. You know, the complaint that I had about the fight in the square wasn't directed at the action itself. It was directed at it, you know, its casualness within the plot. The action was just spectacular throughout this whole film, from start to finish. Every time it kicked off, it looked stunning, and it worked. You know what I mean? As we said, easy to follow, beautiful. But when that AT-AT come through the trees, mate, forget about it. Fucking hell, that was haunting. There was another. They did amazing work to make the I don't know, the weapons that the Empire have at their disposal look 20 times more horrific than they have done in past films. Like, it was really good.
Well, this was shot as like a war film, wasn't it, really? Like, compared with the other... I mean, the other films are mostly like adventures, whereas this was much more like solidly a war film.
Yeah, totally. Long action sequence, mostly excellent, but the bit where they took down several AT-ATs looked a bit weird. Too much CGI? That bit did look a bit strange. There was a scene where 3 or 4 ships swooped down and took down the AT-ATs, and it just looked a bit too generated, if you know what I mean. But you know, I've sat through the prequels, I can allow it.
You're quibbling at this point.
Yep. Oh god, the way they retrieve the actual plans looks like a massive crane game. Holy shit, I'd love that. Honestly, there was like the light come up and they were like to left, press forward, like, yeah, those big like switches. I was like, if I worked on the Death Star or if I worked for the Empire, that would be my job. I'd be good at it and I'd love it. I'd even ask them to put a little machine, like a little slot in the machine that I could just pump pennies into, that I could just use like every turn. I fucking loved it, man.
But it's all right. It's going to pay out in a minute.
Yeah, it's going to pay. Oh, the claw's going to lock. The claws are going to lock. Right, okay. Well, I've lost my place. Right, okay. Droid Death was heavy, man. Didn't love the character, but his ending was heartbreaking. It was, wasn't it? The way he was getting shot up, and he was clearly just, you know, doing everything he could to protect them, and it was nice. It was well done, that scene. Holy shit! While Kirut, that's the blind guy, right? Or
yes.
Kiru,
yeah,
was walking towards a switch. Something moved in my flat. I shit you not. So he's walking towards that switch, going, I'm with the Force. The Force is with me, or whatever he says. I'm with the Force. The Force is with me. And then, like, one of Charlie's toys fell off like a shelf, in like right next to me. I was like, "Fucking hell, man! That's fucking creepy, man." But that saved the scene for me because I thought that was quite weak.
You know what? His death. You didn't. Like
no,
that,
just him walking through the battlefield like with the bullets flying everywhere. I was like, okay. So can we? I suppose we talk about him now. What was he?
Okay, so
actually, sorry. Before you explain, it felt like he was essentially. He also could use the Force, right? He could definitely use the Force.
He was okay. So
110% he could use the Force, James. There's no way you could convince me otherwise.
Why not?
Because he was a blind man battering the shit out of everything that got chucked at him.
He's right. Okay, so looking up about him, what it is he's kind of like Force sensitive. It appears, but he's not like a Jedi or anything.
No, he's not a Jedi. It felt like he was an alternative to the Jedis.
Yeah.
So throughout our whole time with Star Wars, we've been told there are 2 ways you can go with the Force: the light side and the dark side. It felt to me that some characters actually is not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not just 2 ways you can go if you can use the Force. Maybe there's, and it felt like he was like more of a Buddha style character, if you know what I mean.
No, because he was one of the Guardians. Because he was the Guardian of that... One of the Guardians of that temple, which is where all the Kyber crystals were.
Right.
So he was in with the Jedi, but not a Jedi, if you see what I mean. He was just a Guardian.
Yeah, like he was like an alternative... Like he had his own religion, his own way of dealing with the Force, no?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'd say that he was...
That would be so interesting if they went down that route, though.
Mm-hmm.
If, like... So you had the Jedis, you had the Siths, but there was also various different factions within...
Well, yeah, I don't want to say any more about that.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
I might have touched on something.
Yeah. Don't go too much into that.
All right, cool. Excellent. That's exciting. That's very exciting. Okay. Right, okay. Pushing a Star Destroyer is a bit silly. And then I put, worth it though for the moment it smashes into the shield.
Yeah, that did look cool.
It looked cool. It looked fucking incredible. At the time I was kind of like, oh my god, this tiny ship bashes into this... Well, it's a bit shit. But then it is space and it's weightless because it had no power and stuff, so I get it. But I did think...
I love the way you're always trying to work out whether it's scientifically okay for these things to be happening.
I guess because... Why fuck with the rules of space? Like,
they already have. There's no sound in space. You wouldn't have heard all that other stuff either.
Yeah, but it's so incredibly interesting that why fuck with it? You know what I mean? Like, what it is so incredibly mind-blowing that why fuck with it? That's why I kind of link it back to what... I don't know. I'm an idiot, James. We know that. But yeah, no, when that Star Destroyer goes through the shield, my word, did that look good. Okay, thanks for your... Okay,
no, I said great. I agree.
I'm so glad I called you. The bit,
fuck off.
The bit where they blow the planet up is pretty incredible. Really well done. The music, the hug, best bit of the film.
What did you think about that, though? Because, I mean, they all died. Like, everybody died, basically.
Loved it. It's exactly the way it should have died. Yeah, it's exactly the way it should have happened.
See, because apparently, the thing is, right, is the director originally wanted that, like that was going to be the way it was going to end, but went to Disney and with a script though that said that they all survived because he thought that they wouldn't be happy with the idea of all the characters dying because it's Disney. But then Disney came back to him and said, "Yeah, it's fine. You can just kill them. It's all right." And that's how it ended up with that. And
good.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is a better ending, I thought.
God, if they all survived, it would have been shocking because you'd be going, well, where are they then?
Because then there's like no sacrifice either, and it's the fact that they. It's
the whole point of the fucking film.
Yeah,
they're fighting for their cause and they died for their cause. The only thing that I didn't like is that it didn't turn that way at the end. But when those two characters were hugging on the beach, there was a brief moment where it was looked like they were going to kiss, and I thought, didn't need that. Oh, there was no romantic involvement between the two characters throughout the whole film. If they just embraced each other straight away rather than like stared in each other's eyes, it would have been more powerful. Because I thought they're not going to just make them like be a couple now, like just before death, are they? But then they didn't. But the hint that they were going to didn't really work for me. I thought it was a bit...
Yeah, because I mean, throughout the whole film, you kind of get the impression that they're getting more sort of cool with each other, as it were, but not to that extent.
Not to that extent. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. Okay, right. Vader chopping through everyone is class 2. One of the best bits in the film as well.
I've got that down. I've got Vader stuff was cool as fuck.
I'll say this. Last 20 minutes of this film fucking blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. From the planet blowing up. You're alright. You fucking around with your mic over there, James?
Yeah, sorry. I just turned my head.
Have you got a beard again?
No, I haven't got a beard.
It sounds like you're rubbing that on the mic. I'm not doing that again. Why not? Did you grow the beard to be like Obi-Wan? Why don't you shave your head except for like a few strands and then put some beads on the end of it like a right prick? Right, okay.
Where's this coming from?
I was just thinking of Obi-Wan. The bit where they blow the planet, I haven't done that. Vader chopping through the whole... Yeah, the last 20 minutes, just unbelievable. And I put, oh wow, the ending. That gave me chills. Like... The CGI for Tarkin didn't work. It worked. I don't want to be critical of it because it wasn't bad. It was just a bit distracting because Tarkin was on screen for too Tarquin. Tarquin was on screen for too long, right? First time I saw Princess Leia as how she looked in A New Hope, fucking stunning. That worked. That looked incredible, and proper hairs on the back of my neck moment. That utterly brilliant.
I got down here. I said, what was it? I said Leia looked better than Tarkin. I said not perfect, but still a lot better.
No, not perfect, but yeah, just incredible. And then the music coming up at the end, it was just But the fight, the way Darth Vader was just like ripping through that hallway was just exciting and horrific, and it's scary, haunting, but like impressive. It's just as I say,
it's the whole thing. It's like the fulfillment of what you'd imagine that character is supposed to be.
Absolutely,
is like that, and you don't really see that through most of the films. I mean, imagine though he was doing that to younglings, like before.
I am imagining it now. Okay, so here are my final notes before we go into our discussion. Okay, so I feel really conflicted on this one. Mm-hmm. It's a good film, but the majority of it didn't feel in line with the tone or feeling of Star Wars. If they wanted to make a massive tonal shift like this, maybe they should have kept it completely separate from the rest of the story. Mm-hmm. The majority of the characters were a bit disposable, and they felt like they missed the balance between trying to be Star Wars and dealing with the shift tone. Mm-hmm. I loved the last 30 minutes though, just wish that was a little bit more focused, like the rest of the film was a little bit more focused. And then I wrote a note the next day. I've been thinking about this film a lot since watching it. It's the film out of all of them that I want to watch again, mainly because I feel like I was too focused on how different the tone was for the film over the other Star Wars, rather than just getting into it. In a way, I wish you'd have warned me about this, as I think I would have enjoyed it more. Mm-hmm. So I have got a bit of a bugbear to pick with you.
Uh-huh.
I go into these films not knowing much, right? But I do think you should have given me the heads up that this is a complete tonal shift from the rest of Star Wars. Like, don't go into it expecting a Star Wars film, because it really doesn't feel like a Star Wars film. It's got Star Wars stuff in it, but at no point, like, did it have that Star Wars feeling, if you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because like I said, it's a war film. It's not an adventure.
Right.
It really isn't. It's quite different.
Part of me, after watching the film, soon after watching the film,
stuff like that.
No, okay, fine. You don't have to defend yourself. I'm not actually angry with you, but part of me kind of felt just after watching it that maybe they should have had this about a rebel battle over something completely separate from the main Star Wars story, right? That would have been interesting. But the more I think about this film, the more I think, actually, no, I think the problem that I've got with this film is of my own doing, is the fact that I wasn't prepared for this. Because I am almost 100% certain that people went into this film knowing that the tone of this film is going to be totally different to every other Star Wars film. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the trailers kind of indicated that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there would have been interviews and stuff like that, and that would have... So I didn't have that heads up. So I think I missed out on a lot with the first hour of the film, where I was trying to look for the Star Wars in this film, and it's not there.
Yeah, you're trying to like find something that isn't there.
Yeah, I'm talking specifically around the tone rather than things that are in it and music and stuff like that. I'm talking about the flat out, the way the characters talk to each other, that beautiful balance of cartoon yet meaningful dialogue in some Star Wars films. When they get that balance right, that's what Star Wars feels like to me. And this doesn't have that. And the further I get away from my first viewing of it, the more accepting I'm becoming of that. And I wish I knew that going in, because I think I would have enjoyed this film a hell of a lot more than I did.
But you see, I think, because I liked this film quite a lot, actually. And I think maybe the reason also that I didn't feel that so much is because over the years I've like immersed myself in a lot of like different media that's related to Star Wars, which is often tonally really different. It doesn't feel so strange, to me, to see something like this, because this film, a lot of this feels like a wish fulfillment for Star Wars fans in their 30s or 40s. Do you know what I mean? It's like showing a lot of the stuff that they showed, giving a lot of the backstory they did, and the tone of it as well.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a lot of extended universe stuff.
Yeah, a little bit
Like,
more
it really does.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like what it is it's like the Star Wars that people who have grown up with Star Wars feel that it should have grown up with them, and this kind of film is trying to show that that's what they're trying to be in this film anyway.
I really want to see it again. Like, I really want to see it again. As I said just then, it's the one film that if you say, right, let's watch a Star Wars film, like, watch a Star Wars film for the second time, for the first time, if you know what I mean, it would be this, I think, because it feels like I missed quite a lot of cool stuff because I was distracted with the tone and trying to understand the characters. I think if I went back and watched it, it would rank a lot higher than it currently is in my list. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my problems. Shall I tell you what my problems are? With the film?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have like a lot of massive problems with it. I think the biggest issue that there is that the cast. I wouldn't say the cast is too big, but there's not enough focus on certain characters.
Yeah, the dude with the machine gun is completely. I don't know what he was or why he was there.
Well, he was also another former Guardian as well.
Yes, because he turned up with that guy, but we didn't really know anything about him, right?
But those two were interesting, and like the guy with the stick in particular, I really like that character, and I thought I would have liked to have had more about him, to be honest, like throughout the film.
He was alright. He wasn't great. The fact that he kept chanting to himself all the time was maybe it was in keeping with some sort of character or whatever, but it was a bit annoying, wasn't it?
I don't know. I was fine with that. That didn't really bother me that much.
Okay.
But then in general though, like the main characters, like if you think about, I've forgotten his name again. Who's the main guy? I keep forgetting his name.
Cassette or some shit.
Oh, I forgot his name.
Cassidy.
Cassian. Yeah, Cassian.
Cassidy. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like him and Jin as well. I thought both of those characters were not particularly well developed.
No.
And I didn't really care about them like that much. That's my main problem with this film overall, is that there was not really any characters there that I really felt any sort of connection with or cared about very much. Because I don't feel that there was enough time given to anybody really, to be able to do that. Maybe a smaller cast, like a smaller number of people, it would have been better.
Maybe, or maybe they could have simplified Jin's story wasn't bad. Maybe they could have shortened the stuff that where she was adopted or she wasn't adopted, but she was raised by Saw, and then Saw gave her the message. That didn't really add that much, really.
Yeah.
Like, she could have found that message in a different way and cut a big part of that character building out, which is strange because we're saying, we didn't love that character, and you'd expect us to want more of character building, but I'm actually asking for less. If they toned that down a little bit and then focused on some of the other characters, and then when they came together, it would be more important, I think.
Yeah.
But they didn't really. There was a lot of side characters that didn't really feel justified their position in the team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that was the thing I think that was kind of. I mean, but then the thing is, when you look at like the production of this film, it wasn't like a really, really troubled production, but there were like issues with it because it was by Gary Whitta, right?
Yeah.
So he did the script, but it wasn't fully accepted, and he was replaced like after a while. And then they had a bunch of people working on it, like throughout the thing. So that sometimes to me makes me feel like why there's a lack of focus in places as well, because there's so many different people writing, like different stuff, and maybe it lacked a sort of a bit of coherence towards that, especially for the ending, because the ending they had like 5 weeks of reshoots at the end of that as well, which was because there was problems with the ending. They had to keep like revising it.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Do you know any of the problems?
No, not specifically, no. Just they weren't happy with the tone, I think, when they were first looking at it. But so I'll tell you who I did like in the film, though.
Started
I like
banging
Krennic.
on the beach while sorry.
Yeah.
You liked?
No, I like Krennic. The director of the bad dudes. He had a brilliant cape.
He was great. Yeah, I thought he was really good as well. Like the acting in it was really great.
I mean, he was a really good like 1970s style villain, I thought. and it's I thought he fit perfectly with that. Like, I mean, I could have imagined him in A New Hope. Like, it totally worked. Like, in that terms.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like we're being quite down on this film.
But no, it's good.
I think it was more. I really liked it. I wanted to love it, and I didn't quite get over that hurdle with this.
But you see, I would still take this over any of the prequels.
Oh,
I
God,
still think it
James,
was significantly better than any
it's
of those.
better than the 3 prequels. Easy.
Yeah.
I would... Return of the Jedi.
No, I've still got a soft spot for that.
I've got a lot of thinking to do on that.
Yeah. Do you want to hear what George Lucas thought of it?
Yes.
Okay. So, it's reported, so this isn't actually from him directly, that he enjoyed the film more than The Force Awakens.
That's madness.
Yeah, he thought it was better than The Force Awakens.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's George, though.
That is George, and let's face it. Rather have my son give his critical opinion on a film at this point. Yeah, I think this is. I don't want this to sound like a negative review. I guess, like, I really enjoyed it. I just wish I loved it more because it was so close for me loving it. Like, the last 20 minutes, half an hour were incredible.
Yeah.
It was that first 45 minutes that kind of put a bit of a dampener on it for me. But still, I mean, I probably would place it above Return of the Jedi.
Really? Okay.
So if I'm thinking of my list, I'm thinking Force Awakens, Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope.
Really? You put Force Awakens above Empire Strikes Back?
Did you not hear my call last week?
Yeah, I did, but I still...
When I said this is the best Star Wars film.
See, I couldn't agree with that.
I know you couldn't agree with it. I'm not asking you to. I'm giving you my personal opinion.
I know, but it's just I'm still shocked that you're still of that opinion. But
why?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought you'd have thought about it.
I have thought about it. I've thought about it a lot. Based on one viewing of each film, I enjoyed Force Awakens the most, Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Rogue One, Return of Jedi, 3 prequels. It's just gonna be. I don't even want to go through them. You know that list anyway. So that's where it slots in for me. So it's very high. Wow. But what's below it? Fucking Ewoks and the prequels.
This is why it's going to be absolutely fascinating with the next film we've got. It's going to be. I'm really want to.
I am so excited to watch this next film.
Yeah.
I'm so excited, but also concerned.
Why?
I've been thinking about this again a lot since watching The Force Awakens. And the reason being is that I had no problem with them following A New Hope as a sort of foundation for that film.
Yeah.
It's where they go from here. They can't do The Empire Strikes Back. They can't make it like that. They need to take it in a new direction. But how do they get to that point based on where where Force Awakens ended?
Yeah.
What?
No, nothing.
If it just follows The Empire Strikes Back, then it's probably going to get a poor review from me. But if it goes off in a new direction, then I think I'll be happy. I think.
Well, as I said, should I reveal what I'm going to do? What do you think?
You called me in the week, didn't you? And you told me about it.
So what I'm thinking of doing, because this film is quite an important one in terms of like the development of Star Wars, I'm going to write down on a piece of paper what I think you're going to think of the film before you see it, and maybe like a couple of predictions about some certain points in the film, and then I'm going to post it to you, and then at the end of the episode, after at the end of the phone call rather, you can open it and we'll see if I'm right or not. See if I can read you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I so want to ask you what you think of it, but you shouldn't.
No, don't do that.
You shouldn't.
I don't want to give you any steer at all on this film because it's really important that you go into this one completely as blind as possible.
I think you like it.
I ain't saying.
I think you like it because you've given Star Wars a lot of breaks.
Well,
Haven't you,
yeah,
really?
but not always. Attack of the Clones is dreadful. David.
Yeah, but I don't think this is dreadful. It's not going to be dreadful. I think there's going to be... Right, okay, let me tell you. Right, there's either two things. Luke Skywalker dies in a shit way. Right? That is one possible thing. Because I know this is a controversial film. Because whenever So I've seen some stuff, Star Wars related stuff. People have sent me messages with links to YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And of course, your fucking recommendations gets flooded with shit. And I've seen a lot of videos like, no, anyone that tries to defend... what is this next one called? Last Jedi. Yeah. Anyone that tries to defend Last Jedi is a fucking idiot, and here's why. You know, there's comments like that, right? So I think it's two things. Either Luke Skywalker dies, and he dies in a shit way, and people are not happy about it, or like maybe he turns on Rey. Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Luke Skywalker's going to die, right? But it's how he dies, I reckon, might upset people. Or it takes a fundamental rule set out by the first three films and pisses on it. Like, there's a law thing that has been completely shattered by this film, and that's upset someone. Is it still J.J. Abrams?
No.
It's not?
It's not, yeah.
Who does this next one?
It's Ryan something. I've forgotten his surname. Hang on, let's have a look because I had it written down here. Where is it? Yeah, Ryan Johnson. Sorry, yeah.
Ryan Johnson. I don't know who that is.
Well, actually, he had a cameo in Rogue One. He was he was a Death Star technician in that, along with producer Ram Bergman. They were two Death Star technicians. Also, Warwick Davis was in the film as one of Saw Gerrera's rebels. Was he? There you go. Yeah.
Oh shit! Were there any weird cameos in The Force Awakens, James?
There was a few. I mean, I don't know if you've heard, but Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig was in there.
He was.
Daniel Craig. Next, you're going to tell me that Simon Pegg was in it.
What, you'll be shocked to know, he actually was. Yeah.
Thanks for everyone tweeting this week with the same message. I'm excited. I'm excited about this next one.
Yeah.
My only slight concern is that we might miss the schedule.
You think so?
I'm away all next week.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult, but we'll see.
Also, because I don't want to rush you into watching this either, because I really think you need to sit down and watch it without pressure.
Oh God, I will find the time for this. Yeah. I can't wait.
Well, shit, can you warn me before you do, because I want to watch it around when you do,
right.
So that I don't,
Is JJ back for the last film?
Yes.
Good. I trust him. Okay, all right. What if they just gave it to George? Could you imagine that? The last film. Go on, George.
That would be amazing.
And then he said, I'm not doing the continuation of the Disney ones. I'm doing a prequel to the prequels. Yeah. Where Anakin is a fetus. Right, okay. I'm going.
No, it's where Anakin is the Force.
Goodbye, James.
Bye-bye.